Hello everyone, my name's Debbie. I'm Mum by Your Stitchery here on Flosstube and over on Instagram, and this is my little channel all about cross stitch. Today's episode is all about the stitching that I did in February and all the plans that I have for March. Yeah, February's been a month, right? It feels like it's been a bit mentally taxing. The one good thing that happened, Maya's had her 14th birthday. I'll pop a picture in of her with her cake. I took her to the mall. That's all she wanted was food and to go shopping at the mall, which is a gift in itself because the mall is my most hated place on the planet. There's just way too many people, way too many shops, a lot of walking, and yeah, so that is a gift in itself, never mind all the stuff that she got. But so she turned 14. Apart from that, it's been a pretty quiet month. It's just felt like a lot's went on in the world. But on an up note, I've had some finishes. So that's where we're going to start. Okay, so my first finish is one that I've been focusing on. It is the full coverage that I was working on, and it is Quick Stitch Keep Up. You'll see where I was before this final page, and I did finish it. So here is my little finish. Oh, this one's a bit fiddly to hold. There we go. I loved stitching these nice super bright colors. This last page that had the mummy turtle's face, it just all came together. And this is a tiny Heaven and Earth Designs. The artwork's Lynn, but this fits on comfortably on an 1/8 of fabric. I can't remember the exact dimensions, but you can see the whole thing. This is an 1/8 fabric, and it has tons of room like around the edge. But that was my focus finish. And I washed the lines out, but you can kind of see them, the grid lines on the easy count, but you can kind of see they're kind of faint here still. I probably could have soaked it a lot longer, but I was kind of done at that point because you have to keep topping up the water and keeping it really actually quite hot. And I was worried, I'm always worried when there's something like the reds or the blues in it that they're going to bleed, so I didn't want to risk it anymore, and I'm going to frame it all the way up to the stitching anyway, so yeah, I was done washing it at that point, but that's my finish. And up until this point, I have been doing a full coverage focus project where I just work on one, and then every single month like I add a page like to it until it's done. I did it with the bears, which are no longer here. They're in the living room hanging up because I knocked it over one too many times. And then I did it with the turtle, and I will have another full coverage finish again for 2026. I'm just undecided yet what that's actually going to be, whether it's a current whip or something that I have planned like as a new start. So going forward, I'm going to rotate through a lot of my full coverages on a monthly basis, just to change things up, but I'll explain more about that in the plans coming up later in the video. But once more, that is my little turtle. It's Quick Stitch Keep Up by Lynn, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs, 25 count, 1/1 full cross with DMC. But yeah, it's done. So I need to take that one to Michael's to get framed. Another finish I have, which was a Whipco kind of new start that was called, and it was stitch on a Christmas ornament, and so this one's an actual start and finish in February. And it's these cute little mice. It was just on a scrap of fabric. I think it's a 32 count. It was just like an offcut that I had. But I love how light and whimsy that they look with a kind of patchy back stitch. And these are from this fantastic book, The Magic of Christmas to Cross Stitch. Veronique Enginger, can you see that? I got mine from Amazon, but it's a great book, and I definitely want to stitch more in that. I actually have the other half of the little bit of fabric, this bit, that I've left in the book, so I really want to stitch another little ornament out of there. And this one I have some little embroidery hoops that I'm going to paint red and maybe zhuzh up a little bit so that can be on the tree this year. That will actually probably be for Maya's tree that she has in her bedroom. Her tree's kind of like vermin themed. It has like mice and rats, and there was a giant possum that got added this year. That's her thing, is like little critters. So she'll probably get that one. So that was my second finish. And that was my last finish for the month. But I did make some good progress on some other projects. The next one up, you'll see the cover image and before. This is Here Be Dragons by Modern Folk Embroidery. My goal for this one for February was to add another page out of page 2 out of 4, and I managed to do that. So here is page 2. This one is a nice, easy, it's an easy stitch. The fact that it's just one colour, the pattern's easy to follow. Mine's is on 40 count Ceres or Keris by Under the Sea Fabrics. It's very similar to Murky, I feel like, but I like the undertone's a bit more like navy than Murky. And I'm only using DMC 823 and it's 1/2. So I love how that one contrasts on that fabric. And this one will come back out later in the year because I would like to finish this one this year. My other project is my break it up into 12 and do a monthly part, do a number of stitches every month until it's finished this year. And it's Artemis by Carolyn Manning. It's from her Shooting Star collection. I have a couple of them and I can't wait to start them all, but one at a time. And this one I'm trying to add about 1400 stitches a month, and I think I've just done about 1500 this month. So this is where this one is at now. It's pretty big. I think I've reached the edge of the pattern now. So this corner here, this straight edge border will come down and go straight down the edge of these diamonds here. And so I now have the full width. And I'm just trying to pick like a colour in one of the gaps and complete that across what I can see in Markup Power XP, like in the viewfinder bit, and then colour complete that and then work my way across. But this one's stitched on 32 count Silvery Moon Lagana by Zweigart with the call for DMC. And I will pick this one up again in March and get that monthly amount of stitches in, and then I could have it finished by the end of the year. My next one was also something that was called for Whip Go, which, spoiler, I might be giving up on already, and it's only February, but plans change. But anyway, this was my Whip Go call for this month, and it's Anzak by Long Dog Samplers, and my goal was to get to the next full 10%. And I managed that. Oh, is that the right way up? So that is where I am. It was at 22.18% and it's now at 30.22%. And it looks tiny. I know you're saying probably like that's 30%, but I'm stitching this 1/1 with DMC 310, and it's on 28 count Miami Sunset by Die Stitch Love. So you can see it goes from the yellows like into the blues. I do love stitching on this one too. And I was thinking this might be my 2026 Long Dog finish. But I do want to keep working on it, so you never know. We're early in the year. Could this be a 2025 Long Dog finish? Okay. My next one was probably the reason that I'm giving up on Whip Go already, because I just didn't complete my task. And I know that's not a reason to like give up on Whip Go completely, but I've changed all my plans. But this is Witch on a Pig. This is by Lena, Lawson, Needlearts. And here is where I got to. My goal was to finish the entire body of the witch, but I didn't get that far. But I did make good progress on her little jacket and into her hat. Previous Debbie, I'm not sure why I'm stitching this on 40 count. What is it called? It's on my last page. 40 count Morning Mist by Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers. I'm not sure why previous me started something on 40 count when it has a ton of blends in it, which I didn't realize until I started doing her jacket. So I've had to do the bottom leg in one color and then the top leg in the other color of the blend, and that just really slowed me down. I wouldn't have done that now. I would have just went for a bigger piece of fabric, but I'm sure I thought at the time, oh, this is perfect to stitch on, without thinking through the blend situation. So, but that is where she is. There's no back stitch or anything in that yet, so, but I love the shading on her jacket. It was just slow going. So she will come back out later in the year. We're on to another full coverage. This one is the 2025 Heaven and Earth Designs Stitch Along. This is my first time participating in it, and I picked Mother's Love, the flamingos. And you'll see where I was before, and I feel like I've not made much progress on this one at all. This is where I got to. So I was at 4.59%, and I'm now at 19.05% of what has been released so far, which is just the top row of pages, like the top 4 row of pages. I don't know, there's something about this one, it feels like homework stitching, and I just lost all momentum like on this project. I was so excited for the stitch along to start, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know, maybe once I get out of this first page, like eventually, when I eventually get out the first page, the second page has one of the baby flamingo like faces. I think it's just this first page is like a lot of nothing, so it's not very motivating, and it feels like a lot of stitching. But it's on 25 count, 1/1 full cross. Yeah, I just maybe need a break from it and then come back at it, because I keep trying to chip away and try and push through that feeling of I don't want to stitch on this, and that feeling's not going away. So I think I'm going to put it away for a month, or maybe pick it back up later in the month, but I don't think so. I think for March this one's going to go away, and maybe pull it back out in April. My next one I thought I might finish in February, but no, I just didn't have it in me to finish it. This is Holding Hands by Sunset. It's a pretty old kit, but readily available, and you'll see where I was before. And here's where I got to. I got quite a lot done. The whole sky is done. It's a lot of half stitches up in here and blends, but the whole sky is done to the waterline, and then most of the boy and the girl are done, but I have got a lot of water to do. I think this is almost the bottom here, so I have all this bit to do, which is a lot of blends but mostly half stitches, and then I have to do all the back stitch on the boy and the girl. But this one is stitched on the kit fabric with the kit floss, which I think is just like a 14 count like cream Ada. It was just a lot of blends, and I just kind of lost steam like after doing like a lot of this. Like I just lost all steam with this one, but it'll come back out soon, and it will be a finish this year, because it is one of my Year of Whips projects that I've pledged to finish. When I lost, almost like I felt like I lost my stitchy bug, like with Holding Hands, with the Heaven Nurse Design Stitch Along, I thought, what better to cure your loss of stitchy bug by starting something new? And I thought, there's no point continuing to push through and not stitch on the things that I'm just not feeling, because it's meant to be like a fun hobby and not like homework stitching. So I thought, why not have a new start? So last month I was talking about Sprouting Lupine, how I'm going to start their stitch along that's in the Cross Stitch magazine, which I've ordered the physical copy of. I'll show you that after. But I signed up for their newsletter as well, and she has a couple of freebies that you get with the newsletter, so I started one of those. And this one is Lover's Promenade. Yeah, and I'm already at over 56% on this. And I only started it the other day. But it's really small. So, yep. Just a fun little praying mantis surrounded by happy little bright flowers. Stitching a bug has really bringing back my stitchy bug. So, and this one is on 28 count linen in the color Avalon by Under the Sea Fabrics. So yeah, I'm gonna keep stitching on this one until it's done, because like I said, it's already over 56% done. And I'm hoping that will kick back my motivation. Talking about motivation, I've decided to change up my plans, like in general, and the evolution of my little Flosstube channel. I wrote down the other day when I didn't feel like stitching, I wrote down a whole bunch of ideas. I'm kind of inspired by crochet vlogs that I've started watching and their videos, and a lot of them do kind of like themed videos. So I decided to write down a whole bunch of different themes, enough that would keep me for at least 2 years in Flosstube, and maybe doing more like themed videos to get through more of my whips. So for example, March is going to be flowers. So I wrote down a bunch of my whips that are flower focused and with one full coverage dedicated to like each theme. And I actually wrote like the title of, how do I explain this? Like say I wrote March, I wrote flowers. So I wrote down all my whips that fit that category, and I did that for a bunch of different themes and just picked the list that was calling to me the most. And so yeah, I thought spring, we're coming to spring, do flowers for March. And so I've picked out a couple of projects that I'm going to work on for the month. The first one being the full coverage that I'm going to focus on and try and get a page on, and that is Minnie, She Sleeps with Butterflies. It's Heaven Earth Designs. It's my Margaret Morales as the artwork. And this one I only have the first page done, and this is the mini, even though it's on a fat quarter of fabric and it's not very mini like. This one's 25 count 1/1 full cross, and so I'm kind of hoping to get the next page done, which I think will give me not quite her eyes but like her forehead at least, so, and maybe some more butterflies. So that's where I'll be starting from. And yeah, I hope to get at least a page done on her. Another one that's pretty flower focused is Landscape with Poppies. It is a Luca S kit. And I would love to get this big corner page finished, because that's where I'm starting from. This is the kit Fabric and Floss. But very flower heavy. And other examples of like episodes that I'm kind of talking about are things like maybe do like a blue episode where it's anything I have on like blue fabric or with blue floss. Here's my notepad here. Maybe a monochromatic episode of just single color, a designer focus, so maybe an episode with just long dog samplers or like the blue flower. I have a whole bunch of things, moon and stars. I had lots of ideas. Another one that I'm going to work on in March is Dino Garden. This is Una Buena Pieza. You can get this on Etsy. And I just have the top part of the dinosaurs done. But the middle section, the on-land dinosaurs, have a lot of like flowers and plants in that area. And the last one that I pulled out, I do have more on the list, but these are just the ones that I'm going to work on these, and if I get through them I can pick more things out. But the last one is Mason Jar Lineup by Dimensions, and I only have this as a tiny start, the tiniest. I think this is actually one length of thread, so I would love to get some more on this one, at least like an entire flower jar, because I've loved that kit for ages, and just that's all I did. Like I said, I'm gonna have two new starts, one being the stitch along from Squirt and Lupine, just the spring portion. I'm going to try and get that done, and I'm going to put on, it was my fabric of the month last month. It is Winter Wishes Lugana 32 count by Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie through Garon Stitchery. And it's just kind of like a very light taupe colour. I'm kind of hoping the white shows up. If not, I might have to change out the fabric, but I'll do a floss toss once the magazine gets here, because I was going to use the Libby app, but it wasn't the best. The magazine was on there, but it's pretty small to use. So I just ordered the physical magazine. I found a place to buy it from online. And the other start that I'm going to have is this one. It is the Heather Mist Fairy. It's from Cross Stitcher, July 2007. I have stitched this once before for a charity quilt, so I'd like to stitch it for myself now. But yeah, Cross Stitcher 2007. I love the flower fairies, and they're perfect for a flower themed month. And I'm going to put that on. This is 28 count light Jupiter from Dying for Cross Stitch. It's just very slightly periwinkle coloured, so I think that'll be perfect. I'm actually have been really drawn to like my older charts and like more vintage, like it's crazy calling things from 2000s like vintage now, but like drawn to the more like vintage things. I think there's so many things coming out. I think market is, you're kind of bombarded with all this new stuff and you feel like you need to buy it all, but I don't know, I'm feeling more and more drawn to the stash that's already at the bottom of the boxes or in binders that I have, and just, yeah, work on stuff that not everybody else is working on. So that's where I'm kind of being drawn to. So maybe you'll see more of that in the coming up like in the year. When I haven't been cross stitching, I have been going down the rabbit hole of my new hobby of crochet, and I did finish my blanket. I'll just show you this quickly before I show you what tiny bit haul that I have, using the Karen anniversary cake from Michael's, the ones that come out like every year. This is the blue one, and it is so thick, everybody fights over it. It's like a weighted blanket, but yeah, I did this one with the moss stitch and just added a super simple like border to it, but it's been nice and cozy. In fact, let me throw that though. And now I'm going back to the original blanket that I started with when I was learning to make like the granny squares. So I have all of these in the nice bright super fun pop colors. I think there's about 7 different colors that I'm just rotating through and then giving them all this white border, and I have 50 done. This is for Lena, this is her request, she picked out all the colors. I have 50 squares done, I need 150. So I'm going to be working on that in March too. That's a good card project. And yeah, I've been going down the amigurumi rabbit hole, getting into could I make a sweater for next year. Yeah, all that. It's fun learning a new hobby. So the last little thing I have is a tiny bit of haul. I got my new, should I open this? Can we see it through the plastic? Yeah, we can. It's this very pale purple from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie, shipped out by Garon Stitchery. This is 32 count Lugana in the color Bliss. This just arrived the other day. Very fun spring color. I went to Joann's for my final trip on my must get all the yarn. You see all this? This is nothing. This isn't even the tip of the iceberg of what the yarn that I started collecting. But I went to get the DMC and they were cleared out. They had 1 color left and I bought the last 4. So it's this nice bright pink color. I don't know why nobody wanted it, but it's DMC 892. And I was feeling I should do like a Quaker and put like the Joanne on it as like my final goodbye to Joann's. So that, I picked up this chart, I think it was from, what's the needle minder place I ordered from? I can't remember. I added this chart to my cart. It's by the Elfin Forest. I love things, all things Egypt, so I loved the scarabs that they had. And I was going to do this as a small for the virtual Downtown Abbey retreat through the Black Needle Society that's coming up, I think April. I was going to do this as my small, but I just didn't get around to starting it, because your small had to be something related to like Downton Abbey or like the 1920s, and the real Downton Abbey place was the person who, Lord Carnarvon, who sponsored the Tutankhamun pyramid excavation, so he had tons of like Egyptian stuff like about the house, so I was going to do that, but again didn't get around to it, but I'll stitch it for myself. And the last kind of things I have was a very nice surprise from the lovely Patty. She sent a beautiful card. Look at those lions, they're so cute. She told me she would like to send me a kit, which was what I was expecting, this beautiful tiger kit from Nature's Window. Full kit. So that will have to get started at some point, and I was super grateful for that. But then she included some other goodies in there too, some of which I actually already have, and that's what's also feeding my vintage, must stitch more vintage stuff. But this is high up on my start list. Smoky Mountain Christmas Santa with the bears. I actually bought this a long time ago as a PDF, and it's somewhere on the computer, but I've clearly not saved it as Smoky Mountain Santa. So I'm so grateful for this, and we'll definitely be stitching this year. A crosswing collection with all the tiny hummingbirds, which we should be seeing pretty soon. It's starting to warm up and we always get hundreds of hummingbirds. This book I actually already have, what's it called, Forest Babies collection. But I love those raccoons and the skunks on the back, and I'm going to actually put this one aside and match up some fabric, try and find some fabric suitable for these little skunks, because these might be an upcoming start in the next month, maybe next month or the one after, for another themed episode, my little critter episode. So I'll either be starting the raccoons or the skunks. They're so cute. So I'm going to put that to that side, because that's a do after this thing. Wild Animals of North America. And Patty said if there's anything that I don't want, I can give away. So I'm going to have a look through these and maybe we'll do a giveaway later on. Because a couple I do have. Extinction is Forever. More tigers. Black and white. Ooh, butterflies. There are so many like good things, and Patty, thank you so much. But that's all I have. I also, speaking of haul, actually can insert a picture. I just bought a chart from the Heaven Earth Designs sale that's currently going on for another day. I got Persephone by Alexandra Bach. It's got very like Akatar vibes, so that's going into the start pile at some point. And I also signed up for the Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit that's in the fall. The designer is the Artsy Housewife and someone else, Avalia, I don't know who the other one was, but I'm really excited to meet Gigi, the Artsy Housewife, and see what her project is for the retreat. And that's in Portland, Oregon through Acorns and Threads. So if that's something you're interested in, I wouldn't sleep on it. Go look up the details on Acorns and Threads. I think there was only like a couple of seats or tickets like left for both the in-person and the Zoom. So if that's something you're interested, go see. And I also signed up for the Nash Stash. That's quite difficult to say. The Nash Stash weekend with Lindy Stitches, which is a virtual weekend of maybe starting something from market releases that's happening in the next week. The Nash Stash weekend is at the end of March, and that's a virtual event. It's only $10 for the entire weekend, so maybe I will see you there. But until then, I hope that wasn't too rushed. But until then, I will see you in March with all the flowery things. So I hope you have a good month. Bye.